Do you find yourself shying away from the top competition? Perhaps you have great skills and abilities, but against the top performers, you freeze up and you turn into a shadow of a player that you know you can be. If so, don't worry. That's cool and completely normal. And today, we are going to talk about how you can play confidently against the toughest competition. What's going on? This is Kyle Bunnell, and I coach student athletes for the larger game of life. I empower them to transcend their limitations and unleash the potential inside of them so they can express it to inspire a greater whole. Now, before we get into our content for today, if you would like to receive inspiration from me every weekday morning, go to my website, which is linked in the description for you, and there you can sign up to receive my Minute Motivations, which are quick, inspirational messages that I will send to you every weekday morning. They are simply my free gift to you to empower you to become the athlete, the student, and the person that you were born to be. And with that, let's get back after it so that you can ball out in your game and in the larger game of life. Recently, an athlete approached me because he was having some trouble with freezing up against great competition. Now, this athlete had great skills and ability, but against the toughest performers, he would shy away and turn into a shadow of a player that he knew he could be. And this reminded me a lot of two situations in my life. And they were two very similar situations, yet had two drastically different outcomes. The first was when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I was invited to play on one of the top AAU basketball teams in the state. And I was absolutely terrified. I remember going down on the car ride, and I was just worrying about the players that I was about to go up against. I had heard so many stories about how talented this team was. Then when I got to the gym and we started practice, I was starting to become even more horrified and petrified as I looked at the players around me. For the first time in my life, I was playing against people that had huge muscles and had beards. I was playing against people that could actually dunk, or if they couldn't dunk, they could easily slap the backboard on their layups. And I had never played against competition like this before. I completely psyched myself out. I completely froze during the rest of the practice, and I turned into a shadow of a player that I knew I could be. And as a result, I never got invited back to practice with this team again. A few years later, when I was about probably 14 years old, I was once again invited to play on one of the top AAU basketball teams in the state. And this time, there was a drastically different outcome. Rather than shying away from the competition, I embraced it. I played my game, and as a result, I had one of the best performances of my life. I got invited back to play with them. I played with that team for the rest of the year. I was a starter for that team, and I developed so much as a basketball player and formed lasting relationships, friendships, and experiences outside of the game that I would have never had before. Two very similar situations, yet two drastically different outcomes. And from these two experiences, I learned three major lessons that can help you to play confidently, even against the toughest competition. And the first lesson that I learned is to think outside of the head and into the feeling sensations of the body. So many times as athletes, when we are sizing up our competition, we are so caught up in our heads that it takes us away from the game itself. During that first practice, I was sizing up and comparing myself against the rest of the competition. I was afraid about how they looked, how they had big muscles, and how they were having facial hair. I was worried about their athleticism, their speed, their ability to jump and either dunk or slap the backboard when they made their layups. The second time, rather than getting so caught up in my head that it took me out of my game, I sunk in to my body. I felt the crispness of every cut, the fluidity of every move, the effortlessness of the stroke on my jump shot. And as I took myself out of my head and into the body, my awareness within my body allowed me to perform at my highest capacity. When you sink outside of the mind and into the feeling sensations of the body, that fear and those negative thought patterns that you once had will drift away, and you will be more confident in yourself and your ability to play against the toughest competition. The second lesson that I learned is that although you are completely scared about the competition you're playing against, they are perhaps equally as scared about you. As I was getting so worried about the out-of-this-world athleticism that I was playing against and their insane ability to handle the basketball, I later learned that these players were equally afraid about my ability to shoot the basketball and how smart I was as a player. I remember when we would get into scrimmages, whoever was guarding me, one of their teammates would yell out to them, "Hey, do not let this kid shoot or else he's going to shoot the lights out on you." And I remember one practice later on in the season, the coach addressed the team and he's like, out of any player on this team, if I was to choose one person that I'd like to form the rest of the team around, it would be Kyle. Because although he's definitely not the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, he doesn't have the best handles, and he kept rambling on and on and on about what I wasn't good about. But he said, the reason I would choose this player to build the rest of the team around is because he is smart. And he can see the floor and know the game unlike anybody else out here. And so, although I was so worried against the athleticism, the ability to handle the ball, and all these attributes that I didn't fully embody as a player, they were equally as worried about my ability to shoot the ball and how smart I was. So embrace your strengths. Don't worry about the skills that you don't have. Hone in on what you specialize in and realize that the players around you see that inside of you, and they are equally as worried about that as you are of all their skills and abilities. And when you can have this realization, you will free yourself up to play more confidently, regardless of how strong the competition is. And the third lesson that I had from this experience is to feel the fear and do it anyway. One of the biggest secrets about the top performers in this world and those who look to be the most confident is that they still feel the fear, except they reorient their relationship to the fear differently in their mind, and when they feel that fear, they continue onward and they do what they need to do regardless of how they feel. Fear is an evolutionary mechanism inside of us that heightens our abilities so that we can perform at our highest potential. There is no escaping this fear. However, we can reorient our relationships and our minds with this fear. Rather than viewing this fear as something to shy away from, we can realize that it's simply providing us energy to face head-on whatever situation we are going into. And do not be mistaken, that second situation that I had when I got invited to practice with this other AAU team, I was still afraid on the inside. Yet regardless of that feeling of fear, I took confident action in the midst of that fear. And when I was able to do that, I was able to free myself of all these negative connotations I had to how I was feeling. And I was provided so much more energy than I ever would have had before. Reorient yourself and your relationship with that fear. Feel that fear and realize that it is preparing you to have your highest performance. And when you can reorient your relationship with this fear and make this fear your greatest ally, you realize that one of the most powerful forces in this universe is actually on your side. And when one of the most powerful forces within the universe is on your side, you realize that you are absolutely unstoppable. And when you feel like you are unstoppable, you can play confidently in any situation that you find yourself out in. 3 lessons that I learned from these 2 experiences that can help you to be confident even when playing against the toughest competition. Number 1, Sink outside of your mind and into the feeling sensations of your body. Number 2, realize that your opponents are equally as afraid about you as you are of them. And finally, number 3, feel the fear and do it anyway. And as you master your fear within your game, it'll free you up to reach your highest potential in your life. There will be many situations in life that'll make you want to freeze up. You'll have this dream, this calling, this mission that is beckoning you to pursue it. And many times people will shy away from fear. But when you embrace it and face it head on, getting outside of your mind to worrying about how impossible this dream may seem, and into the feeling sensations of your body while you are performing and executing your craft. As you realize that although you are afraid about how lofty this vision may be, that this vision is equally afraid of you because of the courage inside of you to face it head on. And as you feel this fear, yet proceed anyway, realizing that this fear is simply your greatest ally, empowering you with energy to face this new dream, this new vision, this new reality head on. And it is guiding you to the place of your highest potential. You realize that you are unstoppable. You will take this dream, this vision, head on, and it will form you into the highest, most optimal human being that you were created to be. And you will carry on to live to your highest potential and fulfill your purpose and inspiration and service to all those around you. I wish you well on your journey to playing confidently, even against the toughest competition. And I send love, gratitude, peace, and blessings to you. Thank you. Hey, wait, before you go, I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you tuning in today. And if you found this valuable, I kindly ask that you do a few things for me. Number 1, go to KyleBunnell.com. That is KyleBunnelle.com. And there you can receive my daily minute motivations, which are inspirational messages that I will send to you each and every morning. Additionally, make sure you subscribe to and follow this channel. That way, every time I perform a new video, you can receive it so that you can continue to be inspired. Third, if you enjoyed this, I'm sure that there are other people that will enjoy it as well. So could you please share this video with 2 other people? That way we can uplift more people together. And finally, let me know in the comments what challenges you are facing and how I can be of best service to you. I want you to reach your highest potential, so I want to do everything in my capacity to lift you up and inspire you with each video that I make. It has been an honor, blessing, and privilege to be here with you on your journey, and I am here to inspire you every step of your way.